Call the Committee of the Whole Monday, July the 21st to order. There is an agenda there in front of you. Can I have a motion, please, to adopt the agenda? Councilors Ady and Randawa. Any additions? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. I note that Councillor Skelton Morvan is joining us remotely this evening. And we have a report from the Chief Financial Officer, Gov 30 2025 Financial Stability and Resiliency Policy. The recommendation is that Council approves the Financial Stability and Resilience Policy, Gov 30 2025, and that Council's Committee of the Whole resolution be recommended to the regular meeting of Council July the 21st. CAO Pucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before our CFO takes over and does the presentation, I just want to say that administration is absolutely in favor of this policy moving forward. And with that, I'll defer to.
And you know what? I'm going to have no, we moved and I moved. No, I'd take a motion. Sorry, you're right. I've motion, please, to move the recommendation. Councilors Cunningham, Councilors Ady. All right, now CFO.
Thank you. Through the mayor. The policy before you is only guidance for staff in developing the budget that is proposed annually to council. The policy provides the guidance for decision making to meet the ongoing operational needs of the city on an annual basis. It articulates much of how the financial plan is prepared, presented, and after public input is adopted already. This includes outlining the timing of the financial plan bylaw and establishes the baseline services for budgeting from which service levels can be adjusted. The same principles are used to guide the financial management in the city's utility funds as well. Within the proposed policy, growth-related income from positive non-market change is addressed with a clear direction on the most appropriate use of the new major industrial assessment class taxes received. Non-market change from existing major industrial properties is to be used in the same manner it has been, which is to cover the cost of inflation for services. So this would be new taxes from reinvestment at, say, Trigon or Prince Rupert Grain. Those will stay the same. We'll continue to propose those to mitigate any of the inflationary tax increase costs. However, taxes from a new major property investment, such as the REEF project, would be allocated to capital reserves for capital projects. This is the most effective way to pay for utilities projects and general government projects, such as recreation building, the fire hall, and bridges, as an example, and not impacting the existing taxpayers with additional charges for these capital projects. A recent example of this suggested policy in action is the use of new taxes from the Alta Gas project on Ridley Island being allocated to the policing reserve for the purposes of paying the annual debt repayment on the RCMP detachment loan. Many on this council made this decision to allocate the new taxes from a new major industrial property to this project, and we are now about to reap the benefits through no tax increase to repay the RCMP loan. The policy in front of council now simply includes this strategy to recreate the same success when the opportunity presents itself. This action also ensures the city does not become over-reliant on major industry taxes to pay for services. Our history has shown that over-reliance comes with a high degree of risk should the industry terminal be at the end of its life. Our current period of renewal is a direct result of this kind of over-reliance on a single taxpayer over 20 years ago. Those are the summary points, the most important one being the new non-market change. Taxes being the thing that we would really like to articulate in the policy. We don't actually have anything that right now that we're using that says all the things that we've been doing. That's what this policy is about, and we hope that council will approve of it.
Great. Council. Councilor Randawa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this is a great way to for our future planning. So my question is like, if we accept this policy, and in future council want to like use that fund for tax some other places, is there a they can do this, or is this one be locked for this one?
No, it's policy, and council's always free to override its own policy. Yeah, it's not a law. It's not a bylaw that needs to be changed. You know, whatever. Yeah, yeah. Councillor Nish.
Yeah, just in theory, I think this is a good policy, and obviously, we can see where in the past where if maybe a policy was put in place like this when our pulp mill was running, then maybe we'd be in a lot better position now. Um, and and it is a policy, so you know if we did have some reason for a massive tax increase, we could change our mind and do something a little different. But in theory, I think it's a good policy as far as you know, looking for the future and making sure that we're protecting ourselves, unlike the past.
Councillor Cunningham.
I agree. I think this should have been done years ago. We wouldn't be in the position we're in. There's just a couple of things that questions. One, if the tax port cap or is taken off, or if PILT is improved, would that be a capital revenue, or would it go into this fund, or would it just be part of the regular tax base?
Councillor Cunningham, I'm
Oh,
sure you were
sorry.
asking
Yeah.
me that
Yeah, I
question.
He just likes me
CFO
looking at
Bobbin.
it. Yeah,
Thank you, through the mayor. At that point, we would present the option to council. It's not articulated in this policy, given the fact that the Port Property Tax Act is legislation that we actually can't really make a recommendation on one way or another through policy. The same with PILT. So, but we would bring, if there's any changes for the better for the city of Prince Rupert in those two files, we would certainly bring it before council to be able to decide what to do with it if there was any positive change.
Councillor Cunningham.
okay, and number 6, business case decision making and capital project funding. It says all requests for staffing and significant operating projects or new service require a business case for administration review. I'd like to see it administration and council review.
Director Bombin.
Thank you, through the mayor. The reason that we say administration review is because first it needs to go through administration before administration brings it before council.
Yeah, it would always come to council.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eventually we'll get it.
Councillor Forrester.
Okay.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I understand this completely. So I'm looking at table 1, and it makes sense to me. It's the same way that we did it for the RCMP building, where we took new tax revenue to service that debt. If we didn't have any new tax revenue, we would then just default to the first line. Is that right? So it would be no change to what, like we would still pay the debt through taxes.
Director Bombin.
Yes, thank you for the question. Through the mayor, if we did not have the reserve in place, we would have had to propose a tax increase to meet the debt payments. On the RCMP loan, we're estimating that because I've already said that we're not going to have to increase taxes for the debt repayment, it's because we have sufficient amount of taxes allocated to that particular line item. So we don't have to propose an increase. However, a tax increase to pay for that kind of a debt repayment would be in the order of about 4% just right off the bat for the debt. The table is to actually provide an example of if we were to have to take on a large amount of debt for, say, a utility, as in a water project, a 1% increase in water fees only amounts to $35,000. If you need to take out a debt of $45 million over 30 years, you're looking at a debt repayment of $2.7 million. That results in quite a significant, and in the table, a shocking amount of percentage increase just in order to raise enough money to make the debt repayment the next year after the loan is taken out. So what I'm proposing here is that we can use taxes into capital reserves and then spread it out amongst the various funds and we would have a significant amount of money to be able to make those debt repayments without increasing in, say, utilities, an astronomical amount of percent.
Councillor Forster.
Thank you. So said differently, this policy does not cost taxpayers any money by us approving it. Just I'm thinking there's a lot of people that don't maybe have this up on screen and so don't know what we're talking about. But I know a lot of times people hear we're talking about changing taxes and a policy to do with taxes. And so just wanting to make sure I'm summarizing it correctly.
Right.
This policy isn't going to increase anybody's taxes.
Right, not in and of itself. Correct. The what I mean, there's many parts beyond just what we're talking about this evening, but what it says in a nutshell is a new industry comes to town rather than council or administration regarding it as a windfall that can be, you know, spent on whatever, lowering taxes, you know, buying everybody, whatever. That new money would be set aside. We've already got enough revenue on an annual basis to run the swimming pool, the golf course, and all those other things. So that would be set aside in capital reserve so that when that next big project comes, we're not turning to the taxpayer. So it's a tax smoothing would be a peak shaving or whatever you want to call it. I'm seeing nodding from the director, so I must have got it close. Councillor Adie.
Much of what's been said, I'm in agreement with. I'm curious about whether putting something in place like this, which represents long-term planning, it does a couple of things. One of the things I think it does is it creates a continuity that goes beyond the electoral cycle of the people around this table. And I think that that's one of the shortcomings of our system is that there can be a complete house cleaning of elected representatives every 4 years, and you can end up with a completely different philosophy. But having a policy in place, it seems to me, would make it much more. It would make it a much more informed debate to a future council in terms of making any changes to it. So I see that as a strength, and I think long-term planning is one of the things that we have learned the hard way. Needs to be central to how we do these things. The other comment is more of a question. I'm wondering if the existence of this kind of long-term planning is an element in making our applications for funding from different levels of government or grant funding from other sources, whether this improves our ability to leverage and make the argument when we're going out and looking for those kinds of opportunities.
CAO Pucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I think it does. I think having money in place to be able to match funds against grants is always a benefit when going after a grant. So I would say yes to that, Councillor. Thank you.
Councillor Cunningham.
Could it be looked at the other way as detrimental? You've got all this money sitting in the bank. Why should we give you more money?
CAO Pucci.
Thank you, through the mayor. No, I really don't. I really don't see it that way. I don't think we're ever going to be at the point where we have a bunch of money sitting in the bank. There's, the money. For example, the RCMP money that was set aside, we had a purpose for it. It's being used for that. I think what will happen is that this will grow to a place where we'll be using it for something like water treatment or sewer treatment and things like that. But as the mayor suggested around smoothing, I think that that's the benefit of this. Thank you.
Okay, the other thing is, if as new tax revenue comes online and gets integrated into the budgeting, now if we come to a point where we've got tax revenue coming in, but there's going to be a big tax increase because we've all of a sudden got more expenses than we normally had, where would this put that?
Well, you would have to basically violate your policy or override your policy, I guess, if you wanted to. Let's create a scenario. new business or new major industry X comes online. It giving us $1 million a year. We're putting it into capital reserves. Capital reserves have built up to be 5, 6, 7 million because we've done it for a few years. And all of a sudden we're hit with massive increase in labor costs for whatever reason. And council's now wrestling with a 8% tax increase simply to cover the rising costs. We're not going to do anything new. We're just going to do what we did last year, but it's going to be 8% more expensive. That council in that day can wrestle with whether to override its own policy and dip in there a little bit. Nothing would stop them from doing that. But I would think the policy would make them think twice before doing that. Because if you go with what Director Bombin is suggesting, when you hit those times when business X closes its doors, it's having lived through when the pulp mill closed its doors, and having when your 900 people are now out of work, and you're wrestling with how do we trim $2 million out of the budget because those taxes vanished and they were the money that you were using to keep the swimming pool open. This would mean when that Enterprise X closes its doors, you're simply no longer putting money into a capital reserve, but you can still run the swimming pool, right? It's tucking it over here so that you're not relying on it for everyday operations, much as we've done with Legacy, right? Much as we've done with Legacy. Councillor Cunningham.
That's the thing. Right now, we've got Legacy as a safety valve, per se.
Yeah.
And so we've always going to have that. But now, instead of putting, like, Legacy takes a lot of it from leases and things like that.
Yeah.
So Legacy will still be getting that money. Or will that be going into the capital?
Well, Legacy may or may not keep it. One of the reasons the previous council made the decisions it did around Legacy, which is, for clarity, the municipal corporation that amongst other things owns and operates the old Watson Island site. One of the reasons previous councils chose to go the direction they did is that should the revenues from Legacy suddenly evaporate, because and I Pembina is a wonderful tax-paying tenant on our property, and so I certainly wish them all the best. But if all the propane markets in the world collapse tomorrow because some crazy guy south of the border did some strange things, and suddenly there wasn't that money pouring in from Legacy, that money from Legacy is not being used to run the swimming pool. It's being used for next year's projects, which could be canceled, right? Yeah, okay, you're going to have to cut back on, the paving, some particular program. But so it's an attitude, really, I think, is what we're describing, that says that found money shouldn't be money to use for groceries and rent, because if the found money disappears, you're going to have a hard time feeding the family, right? Yeah.
So right now, Legacy is deriving its income from leases. And if a new company comes along and leases property on Watson Island, Legacy will still be getting the lease money, but the cap or the tax would go into this capital reserve from that project.
Okay, CAO Pucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I just want to make sure that we draw a line between the two. I mean, Legacy is an operating business. It's wholly owned by the city of Prince Rupert, and we pay dividends into the city for capital projects. So all of our investments into the city are for legacy projects. That's why we call it legacy. They're for to help fund large projects to offset taxes for those one-time payments. What this policy would talk about is that new recurring money that comes in for a new industry. So where I would say it's not really the same thing. It's we don't deal with any taxes or anything. We just deal with lease rates, as you were laying out, Counselor. But these are really two different functions as we're operating. As
They are, except the counselor. I think that's an appropriate question.
Okay.
Legacy. So new company on Watson Island pays lease. That's a legacy decision. New company on Watson Island also pays taxes. That's a policy piece, right? So both are true. Director Bombin.
Through the mayor, provided it is a major industrial.
Correct.
So if it's a
Correct.
light industrial on the Watson Island property, it would not be subject to this policy.
Right.
For the major industrial non-market.
These are major industrial.
That's
projects.
correct, right? So there's only a limited amount of land that the city has for major industrial properties. So if it's all built out, that would be the end of it.
Yep. All right. All in favor? Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking the question. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Thank you very much. All right. That brings us to the end of business. I would entertain a motion to adjourn and go into a regular council meeting. Councilors Randawa and 80. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. The committee of the whole is adjourned, and we will resume or move into the regular council meeting. Call the regular council meeting of Monday, July the 21st to order, and ask for a motion, please, to approve the agenda. Councilors Forster and Randawa. Any additions or deletions? Director Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Given the resolution at the Committee of the Whole, I'd like to suggest that resolution move to the report section.
All right. Have we got a rise and report section, or just put it in as item F?
Correct. Just put it
Oh, sorry. Item F on the. Oh yeah, sorry. Item F on the reports.
Yes.
6F. And I'll also do a rise and report on the. Oh no, I won't. No, I won't. Sorry. There's good reason to pause. All right. Okay. With the addition of item 6F, all in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. This is an opportunity for any member of the public that wants to address council on any item that's on the agenda. You can do so at this moment by coming forward and Yep. Any item that's on the agenda. Come on forward, sit in that middle chair. When you're seated, turn the microphone on and introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, I was here last meeting. My name is Rain Dowell. Thanks for having me. I'm really glad that the water treatment thing was brought up because that's something I'm concerned about. So recently, I was trying to find out if the water here is tested for PFACs, fluoro, and microplastics. So what I learned is it is not. And what I also learned from the health of...
Sorry, I'm just going to cut you off for a second.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, water treatment wasn't actually on the
there's
agenda.
no water treatment on our agenda this evening.
Oh.
So you can speak to anything that's on the agenda.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does water come into it?
No, not on this agenda.
Not on this agenda.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We craft the agenda so we move through
Yeah.
advertised subjects, right?
Sure, sure.
Now, if you have an issue or a questions around water in
Yeah.
specific, I'm sure that our happy staff here would be happy to meet with you after the meeting and address any of your questions.
Well, okay. Okay. So what I'm concerned about is the water is not being tested for these things. It is in Vancouver. It's not here.
Okay, you can talk to our staff afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do I get something on the agenda? How do I suggest
If you want to arrange for a public presentation, again, you can see the staff
Okay.
and they put it in advance, and then it becomes part of our agenda.
Oh,
for the evening.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very
All
much.
right. Thanks for
Appreciate it.
coming.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any other member of the public that would like to go through that? I do thank you for coming. It's really important part of the democratic process, so thank you. All right. If there's nobody else, then we will move on to the consent agenda. We've got council minutes for approval, the minutes of the meeting of regular meeting of June the 23rd and the committee of the whole of June the 23rd. There's reports for receipt, report from planning with regards to the development activity report, and report from the chief financial officer with the April financial variance report. Correspondence for approval from the request for proclamation of Rail Safety Week. Correspondence for receipt from the letter from the city of Terrace to the Honorable David Eby, also supporting the review and reset of the Pacific Northern Gas, and a letter from the town of Oliver to AKBLG, the NCLGA, AVIC, all the different organizations of the UBCM, support the proposed UBCM resolution around Crown Grant airports. Our recommendation is that all the items on the consent agenda be approved or received as requested. Can I have a motion, please, to that effect? Councilors Cunningham and Forrester. Anything there you want to highlight? Councilor Cunningham.
Okay, D6. We were writing a letter to PNG about the rate increase also. Did that go out?
CEO Pucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll have to double check. We'll look at that. Staff can get back to council.
Because it seems quite a few of the municipal governments up and down the line are writing letters about this, as well as a lot of people are concerned about it. It's quite a large increase PNG is going to be doing. It's going to impact everyone.
Yep.
So I'm just making sure that our letter did go out also.
Okay. Councilor Niche.
Just the letter from the city of Oliver or town of Oliver, as far as the airports go. I mean, I think this is a letter that we could also write ourselves, not just a letter of support, but also a letter basically stating the same things. Because I think we're in a position too where our airport is not creating enough revenue, and there's really not a lot of opportunities to create more. And it's fairly restricted as to what we can do. So I think we can almost write this letter ourselves as well. And
okay. CEO Pucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Councillor, thank you for your comment. We can write a similar letter. This letter is specifically around airports on Crown land, so ours is not on Crown land, but we can write a similar letter of councils like that. Thank you.
All right. Any other things? I just wanted to comment too on the variance report, the financial variance report. Basically, what it says is things are evolving as they should. No major concerns there. As a matter of fact, it highlights that because of the large grants that we received, we're actually doing okay with the interest payments. We're getting ahead a little bit on some of that. All right. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Report 6A, a report from the Director of Recreation Community Services with regards to the summer Saturday nights drop-in child and youth pilot. Recommendation is the council waive drop-in fees for youth 18 years and under for the remaining Saturday nights, 6 weeks in July and August between 4 and 8 p.m. in the gym or auditorium during drop-in gym time. Motion to that effect. Councilors Niche and Cunningham. Any discussion? Counselor Forrester.
Thanks. I really like this idea. My question is, do we have a breakdown of how much it costs for us to do this for a longer period of time? Or could we get that at a future meeting? I just think there's not a lot for youth in our community to do.
Yep.
And so how much would it really cost us to waive it on a larger scale or a lot larger period of time?
CAO Pucci, if we don't have that at our fingertips, and we may,
That's okay.
yeah, we may want a more fulsome report back to on the consequences. But
Our director of recreation could come up
Come on.
with some comments. Thank you.
Great. Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Forster. Yes, we will. I can provide that information. The purpose of this was to kind of just get a pilot to see engagement and then possibly look to longer term if we can, and then eventually maybe see if we can go after funding. So with data and stats and reports, this will help us sort of possibly look at this. This is also sort of in prep. We know the recreation bylaw fees are coming up 2027, so this is just another way to start to position ourselves and explore some of this kind of thing.
Councillor Cunningham.
So, how many are attending right now?
Based on the revenue, it's around 20 participants.
Do you think this will encourage more kids to come out once word of mouth gets out?
It might, which would be really exciting. And then again, will help us kind of direction where we need to go and if we can start looking at funding options to support this kind of initiative. Yeah.
Councillor Adie.
I don't expect you to have an answer to this question, but maybe it will emerge as something to pay attention to, and that would be that if you put something like this in place, does it have an impact on attendance on the other nights? And if so, what would the impact be, and is that something that might affect a decision like this as a long-term plan? And as I say, I don't think there's an answer to that question, but I think it's worth paying attention to.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Adie. It possibly may, and so we would have to take a chunk of time and look at the dates. So absolutely, I think it's worth exploring and noting, and I've made some notes.
Councillor Randhawa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this is a great program to keep us busy this time year in that time. So it won't have, I was wondering if this will impact on our budget for this time, or is it okay?
Sorry, the effect on the budget of this
Budget
decision?
for this
I think it was in the $600 range in lost revenues. Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Report 6B, report from the Chief Financial Officer amending a bank signing authority resolution. Council approved the following changes in additions to staff having counter-signing authority and access and control of City of Prince Rupert bank accounts. 3 parts to it. The first is replace Robert Buchan, who has retired, with Richard Pucci as the city manager. Update Tristan Higginson's position from Assistant Finance Manager to Deputy Chief Financial Officer, and add Laura, I can't say that right.
Burlesic.
Okay, yeah, I still won't say it right. Assistant Finance Manager, and my apologies. Can I have a motion, please, to that effect? Councillors Niche and Forster. Any discussion? Councillor Cunningham.
So in the last 2 points, position from Assistant Finance Manager to Deputy Chief Finance Officer and Assistant Finance Manager, is there any budget implications or pay raises or anything?
No, this is acknowledging, I think, what has already happened. This is actually informing the banking authorities. Yeah. Any other questions? All in favor? Any opposed? You're so quick on the draw. You're fooling me every time. I like it. All right. Item number 6C is a report from the Director of Operations, RFP 250005, liquid waste wetland treatment. Recommendation is that Council award RFP 250005, liquid waste wetland treatment to Spur Construction. Can I have a motion to that effect, please? Councillors Adie and Randhawa. I note that in the report, it is both within budget, but also the only bid received. Any further questions or comments? Councillor Ady.
Just maybe for public information. At an earlier point in this fairly lengthy process of getting this initiative going, there was a request for bids that was competitive, and we chose a company to take that, and I believe it raised the age-old question of hiring local versus hiring from out of town. I'm just wondering, I appreciate that there's no other bidders at this moment, so it's effectively an easy decision, but I'm just wondering if a little, quick walk through the history of it might help people understand how we got to this place.
CAO Pucci.
Thank you. I'm going to defer to our Director of Operations, Jordan.
Director of Operations, Mr. Schmidt.
Through the mayor to council. So earlier on in the process, the actual RFP was for design interpretation and trying to amend the design. So that was the open bids where we had local consultants go out and reach out to contractors to basically take the design and make it more constructible. And that was the competitive with local bids. And Spur was the successful proponent there.
All right. Councillor Cunningham.
On that bid for the design, we had two bids. One from Saskatchewan, Saskatoon, I believe, and one was a local contractor. The one from the local contractor was a firm bid of, I believe, 20, I can't remember the exact figures. And the one from Saskatchewan was kind of an open-end bid where they had not firmed up travel, per diem, and things like that on the bid. And at that time, I brought that up because there was a difference of a few $1,000s. And I would really like the Director of Operations to give me the final figure to see if it did exceed the local bid or not. That was a point I made at that time when that contract was awarded, because it was kind of an open-end bid, and we went with the open-end bid. And I would like to know what the final figure was on that.
Director Schmidt, is that something you've got available?
Through the mayor to council, it's not that I do not have that handy right now, but I can look into it.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. All right. We are now moving on to item 6D. Report from Planning DVP 2502 with Westview Elementary School, DVP 2503, Conrad Elementary School, and DVP 2504, Pine Ridge Elementary School. Recommendation is that council proceeds with statutory notification process for development variance permits DVP 2502, 2503, and 2504. Can I have a motion to that effect, please? Councillors Niche and Councillors Forster. Just for the sake of people that don't have any understanding of what DVPs are referring to, this is for greenhouse structures that would exceed some height variances at each of those schools. Any questions or comments? Councillor Forster.
I think this is wonderful. This gives an opportunity for a lot of our youth to start learning more about how to have more sustainable food, and it does fall within the official community plan. So I think this is a great plan.
Great. Councillor Ady.
I'm also very supportive. I do have a couple of questions. One of them is slightly tongue-in-cheek, so we'll go with that one first.
Yeah.
I notice on the letter from EcoTrust Canada, they have Westview School as having been relocated to 800 Summit Avenue, and I'm confident, given the photograph and the plan that comes with it, that they do actually know where Westview School is. My question, though, is more around, and it might be more of a question for the school district as well, so we may not get an answer, but you've got two active schools. Conrad and Pine Ridge have kids in the building. I'm confident that there will be lots of educational opportunity provided by the location of the greenhouses in those places. I think that's fabulous. I also think it's an excellent expansion from the original garden downtown that we had, I think 4 years ago, I think it was. This is moving into a realm where these things can be quite permanent and very useful. My curiosity is over locating one at an empty school, which is Westview. And maybe I'm asking what the reasoning behind that was rather than an active school as a third option. And a second question would be, does that mean that it's actually a bigger opportunity in terms of potentially expanding into a more comprehensive greenhouse facility at Westview?
There you go. Director Pope, have you got any answers for that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just to give a bit of background on this initiative, the broader initiative is a partnership between the school district and EcoTrust, and the greenhouses are part of that initiative, which is both to offer educational opportunities for students, but also to increase food production for their meal programs. It accompanies a kitchen remodel and a couple other things going on, including the obtaining a truck or a van for food transportation. And so the Westview School offers an opportunity to both do gardening for that food production. You'll see there is actually plans to do more greenhouses at that location for increased food production. And all of these greenhouses would be operated both throughout the school year and throughout the summer. So increasing food production in general for schools and then potentially for the community more broadly speaking. And that would be why it's at a non-active school right now. The goal was to put greenhouses at all of the schools that are also active. And so greenhouses do exist at several of the schools already. And ultimately there would be I would have to check, but I believe there's greenhouses at most of the schools, and that's the goal of all this program as well.
Councillor Cunningham.
Okay, I love this idea, especially involving students and that. But I've got to, are these going to be fenced in to begin with, like they did down in the far west?
These will just, to the mayor, they will be taking, they will be built on school grounds. There won't be additional fencing placed on school grounds for those greenhouses.
Okay, and who's going to be working, say, the one at Westview? Is it they going to be busing students there, or is it going to be done by volunteers?
Director Pope.
Thank you. So EcoTrust and the school district have received, and they've received quite a large grant to fund this project, among others. One of the pieces of that grant is to fund summer students and greenhouse coordinators. So that will be funded to do the greenhouse production over the summer and throughout the year as they're available, and then it would be working with students as well throughout the year. I'm not aware and can't answer the question of whether students will be brought to the Westview greenhouse specifically. I will note that we have invited EcoTrust and School District to do a presentation to Council in the future on this broader initiative, and they may be able to better answer that question.
That's what I was hoping for, so the public can be more aware of it, and that it's a great idea and that, but you know, I've seen these projects go ahead and wither on the vine, and this looks like there might be a little more to it, and hopefully it'll be successful.
Great. Any other questions? Councillor Forster.
Sorry, just a side note. I appreciate that they put in the plan that they're planted greenhouses. Those are Canadian made.
Ah, there you go. And just for the sake of people watching at home, what council is agreeing to at this point in time is notifying the neighbors of the fact that there will be a variance in terms of height on the property, and people can make their concerns known. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Item number E is a report from planning with regards to temporary use permit 2501, 271 Kane Road recommendations. Council proceeds with statutory notification process for temporary use permit number 2501. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Niche, Councillor Forrester. Again, for the sake of people at home, this has to do with a temporary hydrogen refueling station that would be set up. there's been an ongoing grant process and money. The city's been a partner in this, a recipient of some of that funding. And again, this is simply a notification to neighbors in terms of what they're if they want to protect their interests. Any questions or comments? Councillor Adie.
I'm just curious about why temporary. And there must be a specific reason why we're looking at something like this for a limited period of time.
Because the project itself is time limited. It's these are pilot projects. The goal is all part of the broader hydrogen hub strategy that encompasses Prince George through to Prince Rupert. The city, through the Economic Development Office, has been very active in that on that file. There have been some monies awarded for test vehicles. Those test vehicles need a source of fuel, and so thus the refueling station. The goal, though, the hope would be that at some point in time this becomes a commercially viable enterprise, and that many of the trucks going up and down our highways would be hydrogen fueled, and other large motorized vehicles, right? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We have item number F, which is the follow through from the Committee of the Whole. And that was the policy that was introduced. I've got to get to my Committee of the Whole. And so the recommendation for this report would be that Council approves the recommendation from the Committee of the Whole, that Council approves the Financial Stability and Resilient Policy GOV 3025, and that Council's Committee of the Whole resolution. Okay, well, no, we don't need the second part of that. Any a mover and seconder? I've got Councilors Cunningham and Niche. Any discussion? I think we thoroughly discussed it at the Committee of the Whole. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. It is opportunity for questions, inquiries from members of council. Councillor Cunningham.
Just a couple of questions more for the operations supervisor. When's Frederick going to be open?
Thank you. Director Schmidt.
Through the mayor to council, first, thanks for your question. Unfortunately, right now we ran into some redesign issues where there's geotech that needs to be redone on our culvert crossings. We're looking at right now being open between 6 and 8 months. So it is a bit longer than expected.
Thank you. Councillor Cunningham.
Okay, the second one is last council meeting when we awarded the paving contract. I'd asked a question whether Zulu was bonded and whether we had a holdback, seeing as they're from Alberta, and if there's any problems with the paving they're going to do with a holdback and bonding and things like that. I wondered if that was in place and it was going to be checked on.
Director Schmidt.
Through the mayor to council, bonding is now in place, so it's 1% of the total contract price, and holdback is done per the CCDC contract, which is about 10%.
There you go. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Forster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I saw several questions on social media about when paving was going to be done for Crestview, and I saw there was an answer, but for the general public who might not be on social media, I thought it might be helpful for us to discuss that.
Director Schmidt.
Through the mayor to council, right now we're actually working with the paving contractor to bring them in to specifically start on Crestview before they move to other capital paving areas. We're hoping to bring them in by the end of the month to do that. They do have other capital paving contracts in the region, and we're trying to work with them to get ours started first, and then they can move to other areas.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Adie.
I have a couple of things. One is a recurring question, but it came my way via an email, part of a larger correspondence, and That was a lingering curiosity from the people on 4th Avenue West about the pathway. We're just wondering where and when, or how and when that is likely to happen.
Director Schmidt.
Through the mayor to council. So initially, earlier in the year, we went out to design build RFP. Unfortunately, the bids came in higher than expected and within budget, so we reevaluated our strategy for that. So we went out and awarded Aegis Design to start design of the project and try to reduce overall costs. That has actually started as of today. So the contractor went out there, or a consultant went out there to look at it, and is starting the design right now. We're hoping to have a full design done by the end of summer and construction starting September, October.
Councillor 80.
And on a lighter note, I had an opportunity with my family to go on a tour of the Kutsumitine Valley, and it was absolutely brilliant. I recommend it to anybody. It's unfortunately not a free thing, but it was a brilliant tour. And what it made me realize, and I just want to reinforce this for those of us who live here through the rainy winter months, there's actually a lot of things for people to do. Some of them are free of charge. The museum, you can just walk in and have a look, and that notion of the staycation and taking advantage of time here, it helps local businesses, and it reinforces, I think, for all of us what we enjoy most about living here. So I just wanted to express that as an encouragement to people.
Anything else? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Councillors 80 and Forster, all in favor? Any opposed? It is carried.